Anastasia from CrochetEverAfter.com, and today's tutorial is going to be on working single crochet in the front loop only. Let's get started. Now we are going to get into how to single crochet in the front loop only. Before we begin, we first have to understand what the front loop is. When looking at your project, I always like to turn it on its side and look at the V's, my stacked V's, which represent one stitch each. Each V is also made of 2 loops. Normally, in a single crochet, you're going to insert your hook under both loops. When you're working the front loop only, you are only inserting your hook under the loop that's closest to you, which is your front loop. The one further away from you is your back loop. So to begin your row, you're always going to chain 1 for height. And then, if you are a beginner, it's always good to turn your work and look for your first set of V's. This is your very first stitch, your very first V, so you're going to insert your hook just through that first loop, that front loop only. Only one loop should be there. You'll yarn over and pull up your loop and finish off your single crochet. Now as you get used to working it, you're going to see that there's kind of a little space right here, and that's where you can place your hook and kind of just push up to catch your front loop only. It makes it very easy to work just this loop. So again, we're going to look at our V's. If it's difficult for you to see, find that front loop and place our hook under it. Yarn over, pull up our loop, yarn over again, and finish our single crochet. Once you get used to finding your front loop, you're going to see there's even a little hole there you can kind of see that you just place right there, push right up in your front loop only. You see only one loop on your hook, yarn over, pull up your loop, yarn over, finish off your single crochet. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue working these front loop only single crochets across so I can show you how to perform a single crochet front loop only in the very last stitch of your row. Now this technique is good to create a kind of very stretched out fabric because you're kind of spreading the fabric even thinner than you would. It makes it a thinner fabric than regular single crochets, which will create a more dense fabric. You can kind of see the bottom, these 2 rows were regular single crochet, and these 2 rows are single crochet front loop only, and you can kind of see how they're a little bit taller, and they're also not quite as thick as the single crochets under both loops. So I continue across with my front loop only, and then I get to my last stitch of the row. Now don't be confused that there are 2 V's, because remember, our last row, this is the chain 1 that we made for the height for our row. So we never work into this very last chain. If you're also still confused, remember to count your stitches. If you're a beginner, try projects with short runs of stitches so that you can count all of your V's to make sure that you have the correct stitch count after every single row. So just like the rest of my project, I'm going to insert the hook under the front loop only, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and finish that single crochet. And don't worry, as you work, these little kind of stretches of fabric won't be as noticeable, and you can always single crochet or put an edging around a project that you're using or making, such as a scarf, to give it a crisp, nice, clean edge. And then you'll also see that there's a little bit of a horizontal line from the back loops. Unlike the back loop only single crochet, this doesn't create a stretchy fabric quite as much as the back loop only, but it still gives you a loop that you could crochet into to make a different kind of project. but it also gives it kind of just a nice little textural element. So that is single crochet in the front loop only.